What's up, YouTube? I've got a pretty cool video for you. We are taking a look at the brand new season of Might and Mastery. This is a huge update, but obviously we're going to just be focusing on Go Battle League and what it means for the new season. For the first time in a long time, we've got an exciting new cup. And we've also got an insane amount of move updates. So let's just hop right in and check out what has been changed. So we're just going to kind of skip through this. This is just about the season. If you want to look this up, there is the link at the top there. You can go check it out for yourself. But right away, we're going to take a look at the new Go Battle League schedule for next season starting March 4th. So keep in mind, these move updates likely will not go live until March 4th. Do not try and TM them on before. And even on March 4th, when it does update, make sure you check. You can use an elite TM and then just not use that elite TM to check to make sure that Pokemon has the new move, just because you do not want to burn through like 20 TMs and then not get the move. They've done this in the past and they have failed to update the move, so I just want to warn you guys with that. But right away, we're seeing Great League and Willpower Cup. For that first week, we're probably going to focus on Great League just because everyone's just going to be wanting to try out new Pokemon. So I think that just kind of makes sense. Willpower Cup probably won't get to see much play, but don't worry. Next week, we have the Scroll Cup, which is the new cup. We haven't seen a new cup be introduced in a long, long time. It's alongside the Ultra League, so we're definitely going to take a look at the Scroll Cup. It's pretty much the same thing as the Willpower Cup, except instead of Psychic, it's water replacing it. So it's a 3-typing cup. Definitely an ode to the new Pokemon, Kubfu and Urshifu. These are the 3 forms that it has. It's fighting dark and water. So very cool there. Then the next week is Scroll Cup once again, but on with Master League. The week after that is all 3 leagues. The week after that is Great League and Master Premier. So we'll probably take a look at both, especially because we can look at Florges with the new Trailblaze, which you'll see in Master Premier, which will be very exciting. We've got Ultra League and Spring Cup. Spring Cup we've seen before, probably last spring to be completely honest. And then we're getting 2 weeks of that alongside Ultra and Master League. Then we have all 3 leagues back again, and then Great League Remix, which is just, they usually just ban the top 20 Pokemon that are being used by trainers above Ace rank. What I think is most interesting about this is they have not specified which Pokemon that will be, so it's actually probably going to be updated right before that week comes on. So it's going to be Pokemon that are actually meta this season, which is really, really cool to see. Usually they use like old meta Pokemon and ban those, and it never made sense. So I'm glad they're making that update and listening to feedback there. We have 2 weeks of that alongside Ultra League the second week. Then we have Master League and Retro Cup. You will see what Retro Cup is, but I'm pretty sure it's just banning Fairy, Dark, and Steel types, so just the original typings. So I'll definitely take a look at that. And then Great League and Catch Cup. Catch Cup is just only Pokemon that you caught during this season. So after March 4th, will be eligible. It will be alongside Great League, so if we didn't build any crazy new Pokemon this season, we can definitely just take a look at the Open Great League, and then all 3 open leagues at the end there. Okay, so we're taking a look at the encounters. Mienfoo, Volibear, Morpeko, Frigibax, Dreepy, and Pikachu Libre for the different ranks. Pretty cool there. Here are the standard encounters. You know, when you get 3 wins in a set, you get an encounter with a Pokemon. These are the different Pokemon you can encounter depending on your level. And that is Cubone, Paldean Whooper, Spoink, Mienfoo, Bunnelby, Scorpy, Volibear, Jumpluff, Teddiursa, Barboach, Citadel, Alolan Marowak, Lapras, Pancham, the active raid boss, so free legendary sometimes. Morpeko, Frigibax, and Dreepy. A lot of these are actually really good. Like Cubone's pretty decent. Obviously, you'd prefer the Shadow. Clodsire is pretty decent. Obviously, you're not going to get like PvP IVs unless it's Go Battle Week, but still, Spoink you're going to see is actually really useful. Bunnelby is very useful. Scorpy is very useful. Vullaby is very useful. Jumpa is very useful. Teddy Ursa even has some play, which you'll see in a little bit. Even Alolan Marowak got a buff this season with the Hex buff, which you'll see. Lapras is huge. This thing got like double buffed, so that is amazing. And then, yeah, Pancham. So a lot of really good encounters. The Dragons, Morpeko, really great encounters here. Here is the pose that you can potentially get for this season. Not bad. It's pretty neutral. I think it's pretty cool. It's definitely fitting for Cub Fu. So the very first thing that we're going to look at is the cups, which is the Willpower Cup, which I explained earlier. Fighting Psychic and Dark just has Gardevoir Band, Scroll Cup, Water, Fighting, and Dark. Primarina is banned. Master Premier, Spring Cup, Water, Grass, and Fairy. Jumpluff, Roserade, and Toxapex are banned. Remix, which I kind of explained. Yeah, the check back for later, which is really cool. The Retro Cup, which is the Darksteel and Fairy band, and then Catch Cup. So Pokemon must be caught between March 4th and June 3rd. So that's probably when the end of the season is, June 3rd. The switch timer is going to remain the same, still the 50 seconds. So let's take a look at the attack changes. Psyshock is getting an energy decrease, so it's going to be a higher damage per energy move, which is really exciting for Psyshock. What's funny is the Pokemon I'm most excited for to get this buff is actually Metang, because I like using Metang just because it's really bulky. But having a Psychic Steel Pokemon with a better stab Psyshock is going to be really cool, especially with an update you'll see a little bit in a little bit. Dazzling Gleam is going down. It's losing 20 power, but the energy cost is decreasing. If it's decreasing to something like 45 energy, then this could still be very strong, because that would mean it's like an Avalanche clone of 2 damage per energy, so that could be possible. Aqua Jet is getting a buff, so it's going from, we've actually seen this in my recent video where I was trying to predict which moves were going to get buffed. This was one of them. I predicted wrong. I guessed it would be a 35 energy and like 55 damage or whatever. They're actually going all the way to 70 power, which makes me think it's going to be 40 energy. So still a pretty decent move there. Dynamic Punch, energy cost decrease, is probably going to be down from 50 to 45, making it a 2 damage per energy move, which is really cool. Sludge, I'm guessing, is just going to be a clone of Aqua Jet, also going to be 70 power. So that would be really cool. A nice stab move on Galarian Weezing, so you don't have to use Brutal Swing, would be nice. Hex is getting a buff, so Shadow Claw and Astonish, both great moves, but now there's a third Ghost fast move in the mix, and it is Hex. Power is going from 6 to 7, and the energy generation is increased, so Hex is going to be a really strong move. This one, it blows my mind. Acrobatics, energy costs decrease. This is already an insanely good move. This feels like a direct buff to Emolga specifically, which you'll also see in a little bit as to why I think that. Air Cutter, not too many good Pokemon get this move. That being said, they're really taking the power down by 15, but they're also decreasing its energy and giving you a chance to increase the user's attack by 1 stage. So I'm wondering if they're going to make it like a Night Slash clone potentially-ish. Then we also have Rock Tomb, which is gaining power, 10 damage there. Energy cost is decreasing, so maybe down to 50. If it's 45, that'll be even better. It is guaranteed to lower the opponent's Pokemon attack by 1 stage. That's not new, so I'm not really sure why they added that in there, but that is currently how Rock Tomb works. Rollout, getting a nerf, going down 1 damage per rollout, probably for the better, considering all the Pokemon that are getting it, which you'll see in a bit. Nightshade, going from 80 to 70. This feels like a direct nerf to Galarian Corsola. Foul Play, going down, it seems like a little bit of a nerf, just decreasing the power, but the energy cost is also decreasing, so we're getting another cheap bait dark move potentially. And then Discharge, also losing 10 power, but the energy cost is also decreasing. If it goes down to 40, then I still don't think it's going to be great. If it goes down to 35, then this is a very interesting move update and is also a direct buff to Emolga. So that would be really cool to see Emolga have some play. So let's see the attack availability updates. We've got Pillow-Swine and Mammo-Swine both getting Icicle Spear, so that is really cool. I have an XL Pillow-Swine already built for the Ultra League, so I'm very excited for this move update in particular. Togetic and Togekiss both getting Psyshock, as well as Reuniclus and Bruxish. These, I'm not sure how much difference it'll make. I think Togetic would prefer to use its stab moves, but maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? It doesn't really give it any additional coverage, but yeah. I guess it does against poisons, huh? So maybe that is good coverage. I guess we'll have to see how that plays out. Venomoth, Lapras, and Grumpig all getting access to Psywave. So this is the buff I was talking about earlier when I said Metang is getting also like a side buff because it double resists Psywave. And if these three Pokemon are going to be everywhere, well, I doubt Venomoth's going to be everywhere, but I think Lapras is going to be everywhere, and you're going to see a good amount of Grumpig as well. Then I think that's a pretty cool buff. Furret, Linoone, and Drampa all getting access to Swift. I think this is great news. Linoone gets a cheap bait move. Furret gets a cheap move that is Stab and isn't Brick Break, which is really nice. And then Drampa can now use Swift and Fly, which is a really good moveset. If it had a decent stat product, I think this would be a really strong Pokemon. Grumpig and Dusk Noir are getting access to Dynamic Punch. So that's really, really cool coverage for these Pokemon. Obviously, they're going to struggle Grumpig's going to struggle with Steel types as a Psychic. But getting Dynamic Punch, and it already has I think Shadow Ball as coverage, so Psywave, Shadow Ball, and Dynamic Punch, looking to definitely be a meta threat there. Dusk Noir also, we've seen Psychic and Ghost go. It's pretty much, it's nearly impossible to completely wall that moveset. So until what is it? The other form of Zoroark is introduced in the game because it's a normal Ghost. But until that Pokemon is introduced, you can't wall that moveset. So pretty cool there. Lapras getting access to Sparkling Aria, which is very cool. Oh, they actually fixed that. They had it as a Fairy type move earlier, but it is a Water type move. It's nearly a Hydro Cannon clone, just not quite as good, but it's a very, very strong move. So this is a huge update for Lapras. Lapras, already a super bulky Pokemon. Now it has access to Sparkling Aria and Psywave, so this thing is going to be a monster. Sableye getting access to Dazzling Gleam, and I believe that was getting an energy decreased cost. That's really nice, as well as Foul Play, so that could be huge for Sableye. An alternative move set that you could potentially use instead of Power Gem. I think it's got a lot of different play. Could even still use Return. It's got a lot of different options here, which is really cool. Ramami's getting Charm. That's not too exciting. Now we get into the rollout users. We've got Blastoise, Weezing, Wailmer, Wailord, and Glalie. All these round-looking Pokemon getting rollout, which is really cool. Blastoise is going to be super strong with rollout. I also think it's really cool that Weezing is getting rollout, giving it some play into the open meta. Wailmer and Wailord also will benefit from this because they currently run Water Gun as a fast attack. Same with Weezing. I think it currently runs Infestation, Blastoise, Water Gun. So they all have really poor fast moves in terms of energy generation. So this is really good for them. Same with Glalie. I think it uses Ice Shard. So rollout is pretty huge there. And then it has really good nuke moves with Avalanche and Shadow Ball, similar to Frostlass. So very, very exciting there. Now we're seeing two Pokemon that are getting access to Rock Tomb, which is the buffed Rock Tomb, where the energy cost is decreased and is doing more damage. This is huge for Credilli. Credilli already being a very bulky Pokemon, being able to basically buff its defense even more by nerfing its opponent's attack is massive. I imagine it playing almost pretty similarly to a Dugong next season, which we're going to talk more about as well. Bombardier, is getting access to Rock Tomb as well, which is really cool because I think it's also getting access to Sucker Punch, which we'll see in a minute. And it already has access to Fly, so it's going to have a really killer move set. Swampert is getting Sludge. Swalot is getting Sludge. So this gives it a cheap bait move. This is the buffed Sludge, so this is going to be very strong on Swalot. And Swampert, I mean, Sludge covers its one and only weakness, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. And I think it's going to be like pretty much the same energy as Hydro Cannon, so you can kind of go either way. And pretty good pacing, not really needing to bait there, which is really nice. Dragology is getting access to Sludge Bomb, so not quite as cheap of a charge move, but a good coverage move for Dragology. And I'm definitely going to try this out in the Ultra League when I get a chance. Roserade getting access to Poison Sting. This is really cool because I believe Roserade has Weather Ball Fire, so he's going to be able to get there in 4 Poison Stings, because it's a 35 energy move, so that is really strong. It can get to its coverage move in 4 Poison Stings. Furret is getting access to Trailblaze, so is Lanoon, and Florges is getting access to Trailblaze. So this is huge for the Master League because this will put Rhyperior in check just a little bit. We're also seeing Mightyena and Bellybolt and Bombardier all getting Sucker Punch. So stab Sucker Punch on Mightyena is going to be great. Bellybolt is also really cool because it has a mono electric moveset at the moment. It does have a very good moveset, but it would be nice to see some coverage for this Pokemon. And then Bombardier we talked about a little bit already. So the first thing we're going to look at is the first cup here is the Willpower Cup. We're going to just see how that shakes up the meta after we take a look first at just how the Great League rankings have been shaken up. So right away, these are the new Great League rankings. We're still seeing Manabuzz and Clodsire at the top, but you notice no Galarian Corsola up here. We also see Lapras at number 3 with the Psywave, Sparkling Aura, and Ice Beam. I mean, the pacing, look at the bulk, first of all, on this thing. Very strong bulk. And then it also has pretty incredible pacing here with Sparkling Aria, which is just a better damage per energy move than Surf. So this is a strict upgrade, and then Ice Beam for coverage. You could even run Skull Bash, but that's pretty expensive. Same with Dragon Pulse. But yeah, going to be a very, very strong Pokemon there. Malamar, you're seeing this high because Foul Play is now a cheap move. So it's actually cheaper than Superpower, so you don't have to really bait. Or you can actually use it to bait before going for a Superpower, which is really nice. Sableye with the Foul Play and Dazzling Gleam, both their energy cost being decreased, which is really nice. There's your Galarian Corsola. And then a new one, we've got Psywave Grumpig with Dynamic Punch and Shadow Ball. This is huge. Look at this. The stab Psywave is massive, 3.6 damage per turn and 4 energy per turn, with a great move set here. So that's going to be super strong. It also has some really good matchups, I believe. Like it beats Lapras and Clodsire, Diggersby, Azumarill, Annihilate. So very, very cool wins there. Dusclops, XL Dusclops. This is a Pokemon that you're going to have to invest in. It's also extremely bulky. Look at that defense stat. That is insane. Also picking up some really great wins. You're seeing why Manabuzz is so strong because of all these Psychic Pokemon getting buffed. It also neutralizes the Superpower with its flying typing. It has access to Fire Punch, Shadow Punch, Poltergeist as well. This is obviously the buffed Hex, so we're expecting almost 3 damage per turn with Stab, and then 4.33 energy per turn, so a extremely strong energy per turn there. Getting to a Shadow Punch in 3 hexes is insane. And then Ice Punch in 4 and then 3 following, so that is massive. And then really good coverage, especially with the Ice Punch bait in the previous season. You could also run this with Return, and you could run either Shadow Punch Return or Ice Punch Return, so that would be a really cool moveset as well. Dusknoir, its evolution, obviously not the non-XL, but it did get access to Dynamic Punch for coverage, and also has some pretty decent bulk. But choosing to run the Astonish just because that damage per turn with the Shadow Boost is huge. And then 35 energy for a 2.26 damage per energy move. It just makes sense. And then Dynamic Punch for coverage against your normals and darks, which is the only two things that Ghost cannot hit for at least neutral damage. So super, super strong move set there. Clodsire, obviously we've seen before. This is just the other move set. Diggersby is the same. For Alligator is the same. Morpeko for Alligator. Claydol at 15. This is really cool. Obviously another very bulky Pokemon. They've tried to buff this thing a billion times. It finally worked because of the Rock Tomb buff. We're not seeing a bait move on this Pokemon, which is pretty unfortunate. But it does have unlimited coverage opportunities, so your opponent doesn't know if you're running. I mean, you're pretty much always running Stab, Scorching Sands, but are you running Shadow Ball, Ice Beam, or Rock Tomb for coverage? And then Rock and Ground have really great coverage into everything that isn't a like grass fighter or grass ground. So very good coverage there. Corviknight, Jellicent making its way back onto the list with the Hex buff, which is really cool. Togetic actually opting for that Psyshock, so I was a little bit wrong about that. Just because it has that coverage, I'm guessing, into your poisons, but your poison dark, even your poison dark. Okay, interesting. But yeah, even your poisons, you're not going to beat, especially your bulky ones. Gastrodon, Pangoro, that's not new. Weezing opting finally for Sludge, but not going for the nuke move, instead going for the Brutal Swing. That's actually pretty interesting. I'm kind of surprised it's not going Sludge Play Rough for a double stab move set. But Brutal Swing does give it coverage against one of its weaknesses, which is Psychic, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Azumarill, Dusk Noir, the Non-Shadow, Primeape, Jumpluff, Machoke because of the Dynamic Punch buff. Shadow Lapras, just a little bit less bulky, so losing out a little bit there. Credilli, here's a new one. Very, very strong Pokemon, also really bulky, pretty good coverage with the Grass and Rock, opting for that Rock Tomb. This thing is going to be a menace, I bet. We're also seeing for it, it had Sucker Punch previously, but now having access to Swift and Trailblaze. It's got some decent bulk to it right here. This isn't obviously the optimal IVs, but it would be even better with optimal IVs. And then Sucker Punch is just such a strong move with Swift and Trailblaze. Pretty good, just neutral coverage there. Pretty strong into like something like a Feraligatr, for example. You've got Stunfisk, Emolga also getting a double buff with Discharge and Acrobatics. We're expecting a 2.4 damage per energy move with Acrobatics because of that stab. And then Discharge, they're anticipating 40 energy. PvPoke is. If it goes down to 35 energy, this thing will be a beast. If it's 40 energy, that's still okay with stab, but otherwise not great. Annihilate, Guzzlord, Marowak, Clefable. Here's your Shadow Grumpig and your Shadow Dusclops. Most of this looks pretty much the same. Now we finally see Golisopod with Aqua Jet instead of the Liquidation there. Just because it has a little bit of a better pacing, 2.1 damage per energy. Also better damage per energy, but you do lose out on the chance to potentially debuff your opponent's defense. So just kind of preference there, but pretty cool. Rollout, Blastoise. This thing is extremely bulky. I'm surprised you're opting for a Skull Bash over Ice Beam here, because I feel like this would just be a better Lapras because it has a rollout for super effective, and then these two would be neutral, but maybe opting for that Skull Bash. We'll see. Quagsire, Diggersby, Toxapex, Marowak, Sandslash, Steelix, Bastion, Metacham with Psycho Cut and Dynamic Punch, so not really surprised there. Spiritomb with the Rock Tomb buff, making it to 56. That's really cool. There's your Galarian Weezing with the Sludge. Sableye, that's the old Sableye. I believe there's Lanoon, yeah, with the Swift and the Trailblaze. Is there any others? Runerigus is now opting for Rock Tomb over Brutal Swing. There's Swalot with Mudshot, Sludge, and Ice Beam. It does have really good coverage moves, don't get me wrong. And it's got decent charge or decent fast move in terms of energy generation. I guess it just has poison plus ice beam. So I mean that's still a very strong moveset, especially with the mono poison typing. There's Annihilate. Is there anything else in the top 100 that we want to take a look at? Let's see. There's Florges with Trailblaze. Dugong down to 92. I'm kind of surprised. And they're also saying still want to run Icy Wind Drill Run. I don't know if I agree with that because when I simmed with Aquajet, it seemed better. Yeah, it is your best damage per energy move by, aside from Blizzard, which is insanely expensive because it gets stab. I think you're going to want to run Aquajet Icy Wind. Giving up Drill Run coverage does kind of suck. So maybe you could run Drill Run Aquajet, but up to you. When I ran the Sims the first time, you can check out that video when I was predicting an Aquajet buff, that it actually performed better with Aquajet. So I'm a little bit surprised to see it there. There's Frostlass with the Hex buff. So seeing a Pokemon get the Hex buff, top 100 besides Jellicent is nice. Wow, Dunsparce really fell. Mew with the Psyshock buff, pretty nice there. Fortress with the Rock Tomb buff, really cool. Okay, I think we're gonna call it there. Where is Metang? Come on, this is one of my favorite Pokemon, and it should get a buff, but no, still at. Oh, it's interesting. It wants to run Return now. See, I've been running it with Gyra Ball. With Metang, decent move here in Metal Claw, not great, but Psyshock now 6 and 2.1 damage per energy is really strong. So I'm kind of surprised. Return, interesting. It does beat Wiggly Azumarill. I mean, it's beating Primeape and Clodsire. This is a Steel Pokemon beating Clodsire and Lapras. So I think you're gonna want to take a look at this Pokemon. Especially because I don't expect to see Frogger as much. You'll still see quite a bit of these, but yeah. Let's take a look at the first cup, which is the Willpower Cup. We're just going to kind of look very briefly at what the top 20 is going to be. This is probably not going to be showcased on literally any other channel, so I'm just going to go through this early. So these are Pokemon you should probably spend time investing in early in the season. We've got Galarian, Rapidash. This Pokemon is always super strong in this cup, so I'm not surprised to see it there. Sableye, really cool to see that there because of the 2 buffs there and good coverage. Ignore Hatterene because it's a charm user, and they already banned Gardevoir, so this is just kind of replacing it. Manabuzz, not surprised. Claydol, not surprised. Primeape, that's kind of new here. Morpeko's kind of new here. Quillfish, Drapion, Malamar down here. Spiritomb in the top 20, that's crazy. There's Grumpig. I don't know why Mega Gallade is in here, but ignore that. Armor Rouge is getting a pretty big buff with the fact that it gets to Psyshock in only 2 Incinerates now, so that's huge. Think of Thunder Punch on Typhlosion. So pretty cool to see that there. Okay. Let's take a look at the new Scroll Cup. That should be this guy. Scroll Cup. So we're seeing a lot of the same Pokemon because it's pretty much all the same, except it's water instead. So we're seeing Primeape and Gallade again, Morpeko and Sableye as well. Jellicent's new to this list. Toxapex is new to this list because they get in with their water typing. Choke, Manabuzz, Malamar, all this is the same. Gastron and Mantine. Mantine's pretty interesting. Sableye again, Tentacruel just because it's a Toxapex light. Azumarill, Araquanid, pretty cool there. And then a Core Breaker for the Willpower Cup that I used last time. Hakmo down there, so that's pretty cool. The next cup we're going to look at is the Master Premier. That should be this guy. Yep. So right away at the top, you're seeing Florges. That's no surprise there. We're getting Fairy Wind to the Trailblaze, straight 5, and it's opting for Disarming Voice instead of Moonblast. That's interesting. But pretty cool there. We're seeing Gliscod with Aquajet. That's pretty cool. Anything else new? Anything else changing? Roserade at 13 with poison staying. Yeah, like that straight 4 and 7 to the Leaf Storm. Oh god. What have they done? Um anything else new? Armor Rouge. Wow. All the way up over Skeledirge at 25. Incredible. Okay. The next one we're going to look at is the Spring Cup. This is where only Water, Grass, and Fairy type are eligible. That's going to be this guy. Wheezing obviously is going to be good against the Grass and the Fairy because it's have poison. So super strong there. Abomasnow, Klefki. That's an interesting one. Klefki over Mawile is kind of interesting, but maybe the Astonish and Foul Play, especially with the Foul Play buff, maybe getting in there. And then the Sludge buff definitely helping Wheezing out here. Tentacruel, I believe Toxapex is banned in this meta, if I'm correct. Yeah, Toxapex, Roserade, and Jumpluff. So that's why that Tentacruel is in there. Same with Quillfish. Leavanny up to 10. That's pretty nice. Anything else? Lapras 13. Very cool. Anything else new? Nope, not really seeing. There's your Togetic with Psyshock. That makes sense. Baiting something out and then hitting it with super effective damage. If you bait out a poison, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Great League Remix. And then the last one we're going to look at is Retro Cup because we can't really look at Catch Cup or Great League Remix yet. So Retro Cup, only Dark Sin Fairy type Pokemon are not eligible. So once again, we're seeing Primeape rise to the top, Dusknoir, pretty bulky Pokemon with that crazy coverage we talked about. For it, we already talked about Ursaring. This one is kind of rising up out of nowhere, but it's got very similar play, Shadow Claw, Swift, and Close Combat. There is Jumpluff making its way back, opting not for Acrobatics and instead for Aerial Ace. That's pretty interesting. I guess we'll see how that plays out. I would argue that the non-Shadow probably wants to throw on Acrobatics now, but we will see. There's your Dusknoir and Dusclops, Lapras, and Grumpig. We've talked about them already. Oranguru doing well here. There's a Molga with that buff, so that's pretty nice. And then everything else is looking pretty typical. Jellicent, Dusclops, Citadel, that is pretty cool. But yeah, that is all the updates that we're going to look at today. I can do a more in-depth deep dive if you guys are interested, maybe looking at some core breakers. But I did want to get this out and just kind of talk about, I know this is a long video, but just kind of preface about what you should be building for all the upcoming metas. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, peace.